Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Caribbean Airlines CAL makes its inaugural flight to St. Kitts from Port of Spain. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, July 28th, 2023. Details after this important message.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived are new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Greeted by a water salute customary for inaugural flights, Caribbean Airlines began its scheduled services to the Robert L. Bradshaw International Airport in St. Kitts using its ATR 72-600 aircraft. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
Greeted by a water salute that is customary for inaugural flights, Caribbean Airlines began its scheduled services to the Robert L. Bradshaw International Airport using its ATR 72-600 aircraft. The flight was welcomed by a delegation of tourism and other government officials led by Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew. Gifts were exchanged between airline officials and government officials to mark the inaugural occasion. The flight from Port of Spain, Trinidad via Antigua will operate 5 times per week, giving the travelers options into and out of St. Kitts and Nevis, connecting to regional destinations. In welcoming the inaugural Caribbean Airlines flight, Prime Minister Drew commented on the economic impact of improved airlift into the Federation. He said, quote, "The benefits of an improved airlift cannot be overstated. It stimulates economic growth by driving tourism, generating employment opportunities, and boosting revenue streams. By attracting more visitors, we inadvertently activate the multiplier effect, thus ensuring that the monies derived from tourism have the potential to trickle down to our communities. This, in turn, improves our citizens' overall standard of living, enhances our cultural exchange, and fosters a greater sense of pride in our nation." He continued, "The arrival of Caribbean Airlines to St. Kitts and Nevis is further evidence of the growing demand for the Federation, blessed with natural beauty, vibrant culture, and warm hospitality. As we welcome visitors from near and far, we have the opportunity to showcase the wonders of our island, strengthen our diplomatic ties, and forge lasting friendships that transcend borders." End quote. According to the Prime Minister, the arrival of Caribbean Airlines to the Federation signifies a new era of opportunities and possibilities. The airline, within just a few days, will inaugurate another flight in non-stop service to and from Barbados. Previously, Caribbean Airlines has operated international charter services into St. Kitts using its 737-800 aircraft. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Over in Jamaica, government ministers clash in Integrity Commission Oversight Committee meeting, leading to the walkout of Warmington. Natalia Clark of CVM Live has more.
Today's sitting of the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee saw 2 government ministers going head-to-head as one accused the other of stifling the truth. The unrest stemmed from a question which alluded to a member of the Integrity Commission being politically aligned and driven. Natalia Clark chronicles the ordeal that saw one minister storming out of the proceedings.
In Tuesday's sitting of the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee, there appeared to have been much discontent as Government Minister Everald Warmington, soon after the meeting commenced, grabbed his belongings and left. His departure succeeded his inquiry into whether a senior director at the Integrity Commission is somehow connected to the People's National Party.
The last time we were here, I asked the director if there were anyone on the team, and senior directorate, any senior directorate, remember, senior directorate, that was or were politically exposed. The ruling that I was going on the wrong road. I shouldn't follow that line of question. You didn't give a reason.
Chairman of the committee, Edmund Bartlett, proceeded to halt such a line of questioning, explaining the committee is not the place to make assumptions, nor to attack anyone's character.
What we want to do is to enable everyone to feel that whatever comes out of this committee is going to be fair and just, and that it will endure to the highest level of protection of the rights of everyone.
Such an explanation proved futile, as Warmington then continued to seek answers.
I stated then that Mr. Ren Evans was a political advisor to Dr. Peter Phillips. I go further. He applied for a job, a senior position in ministry, and I know for a fact that the ministry did not employ him because of his political activity and involvement. And therefore, this is something that the Jamaica ought to know, that as senior director at the Integrity Commission is a political activist.
He was again interrupted by the chairman, but was adamant his concerns would not be muzzled.
No, if I can't ask my question freely and you want to muzzle me, you can keep it by yourself. You want to muzzle me and your rulings are what I call it. You freely with no basis.
Very well.
You want to keep the truth from Jamaica, and I'm not going to be a part of anything that you're trying to stifle the truth.
He then took his leave, to which Chairman Bartlett said he will not condone any disrespect or behavior of that sort. Natalia Clark, CVM Live.
Head of the local Roman Catholic Church in St. Lucia has sent an open invitation to all stakeholders for a national discussion on the way forward for St. Lucia's Carnival. The invitation comes amid concerns about lewd behavior by some revelers and costumes that left very little to the imagination during the recent hosting of the island's main cultural showpiece. Lisa Joseph of DBS News World reports.
St. Lucians have been called to engage in deep reflection in the afterglow of St. Lucia Carnival. The call was made by Archbishop Gabriel Malzer, who believes the introspection is critical in determining the way forward for the cultural showbiz. The Archbishop, in an open invitation to stakeholders, said while he appreciates the creativity, splendor, and economic benefits of Carnival, the absolute vulgarity witnessed in many of the bands were behaviors that any civilized Christian society would denounce. If this is what is regarded as St. Lucia's culture, the Archbishop said, then the country is in grave danger, given that culture, by its very nature, must promote and enhance the dignity of the human person. Culture and Creative Industries Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire says the statement has caused him to reflect deeply. However, he maintains that Carnival, by and large, is an individual choice.
I think at the end of the day, individuals have to make the best decisions according to their faith and their own relationships with God. And I really want to say to him that, it certainly served the purpose for my part as minister to really study what he wrote. It doesn't mean I agree with everything he wrote, but I certainly studied it, and it has kind of reoriented me in certain aspects.
The Archbishop warned that whatever is accepted as moral norms or the lack thereof in this generation will spill over to the next with its increase in decadence. Any lack of moral checks and balances on the level of family, church, or nation spells doom, he says. The phenomena of the Bam Bam Wall, which speaks to the exploitation of women, he says, will continue to have subliminal effects on the national psyche if not eliminated or exorcised.
But I think we'll always have our differences. I believe the carnival should have something for everybody, and we shouldn't decide for people, whether they should be in that band or in that band, whether they should dress that way or that way. Once they're not breaking the laws of St. Lucia, I think we should let it be what it is.
For the Archbishop, witnessing Adrian Auger's band Tribe of 12 portraying the theme "For God So Loved the World" was a glimmer of hope amid what seemed like a banalized performance of the Caribbean culture. For the DBS News World, Lisa Joseph reporting.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The Cayman Islands and Barbados announced direct flights between the two destinations. Morocco to open a consulate in St. Vincent, and brother arrested in the U.S. Virgin Islands for the death of his older brother. These take the lead in HGP's regional roundup with Tiana Cole.
Tourism Minister Kenneth Bryant, flanked by the Chief Executive Officer of the national airline, Cayman Airways, and Barbados Tourism Minister Ian Godin-Edgell, who addressed the news conference virtually, said the initiative would begin on October 18. Bryant, who is also the chairman of the Barbados-based Caribbean Tourism Association, described the initiative as a game changer, opening up travel between the islands and the Eastern Caribbean. Morocco will soon open a consulate in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to increase its diplomatic presence in the Caribbean. Prime Minister Rav Gonzalez revealed this development following a trip to Rabat, Morocco. Morocco will set up the consulate in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In fact, they are supposed to be coming in October to begin the process of getting premises, and shortly thereafter to put things in place. A 47-year-old U.S. Virgin Islands man was arrested and charged in connection with his brother's murder. The Virgin Islands Police Department reported Richard Liverpool was charged with murder in the first degree, assault in the first degree, assault in the third degree, unauthorized use of a firearm during a crime of violence in relation to the shooting to death of his older brother Steve over the weekend. The Virgin Islands Police Department said it received reports of gunshots being fired at a residence in Estate Thomas, St. Thomas. Upon arrival, cops found Steve unresponsive, lying on the ground. He was shot multiple times.
Trinidad and Tobago's Finance Minister Colm Imbert says Standard & Poor's affirmation of the Twin Island Republic's credit rating is a positive development, noting that Trinidad and Tobago is one of the few investment-grade countries within the Latin American and Caribbean region, and the only one in the Caribbean. This TTT News item tells us more.
On Wednesday, rating agency Standard & Poor's S&P affirmed Trinidad and Tobago's BBB credit rating with a stable outlook. Mr. Imbert said while the rating had a negative outlook up to July last year, TNT's economic and financial performance and its institutional stability has helped to stabilize the outlook. He said S&P in its credit rating reflects that TNT faced with a propitious situation in 2022. The government used the surplus to accelerate VAT refunds and contribute to the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, adding that S&P does not expect net debt to rise. Mr. Imbert said S&P also highlights this country's good policy practices, stating that unlike many commodity exporters, TNT saves excess fiscal revenues in the HSF during boom years.
Members of the public are giving their views on whose image should replace that of the late Queen Elizabeth on the Eastern Caribbean currency. It comes after the Monetary Council of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank decided on making the change during its most recent meeting. Kim Emmanuel Baird of ABS News in Antigua sought reactions in St. John's on Tuesday.
Queen Elizabeth II's image has been on the Eastern Caribbean currency for too long. This was the consensus of everyone we spoke with, and some were quite frank on who they believe should replace her.
Sir Vivian Richards, I think he's one of the best that I've seen so far. And to represent us in the Caribbean, we definitely need someone like that, you know. We are black people and we definitely will stand for ourselves. So that's a good choice, you know, Sir Viv Richards to go.
For me, I think we should change it a long time from since we knight Sir Viv and put Sir Viv on the EC dollar. Definitely.
I really do think it should have been removed from the day we got independence, because when we got independence, I was 21. And for all my life, I haven't seen the monarchy doing anything substantial for the Caribbean islands. So why are we promoting the Queen? We need to promote people like Vivian Richards and all of those people who have contributed to our economy, contributed to our social welfare and all of that. So the Queen should have gone a long time.
Others say change in the image on the EC currency will have significant influence on the region, and it's time to embrace the icons who contributed to the sub-region's development.
Well, maybe the new monarchy on the currency, or maybe something of significance that is important to the OECS islands. Queen Elizabeth was there for over decades, but changing her will be a significant impact on some islands, because some islands want to lead to be more republic, while some don't want it about republic as yet. So it will be a good impact and it will be a negative impact.
One of my concerns is that it's a good thing that they have the Queen in here, but it's a more creative thing if you would have a collective set of Caribbean outstanding. Somebody that we look up to, significant importance and all of these nature. I don't know why you have to have one person in it, and I also have probably one person, because we can't have a selfish approach to anything that's supposed to be historic environment or health. It should be a group of people. So you look out for some persons who have done so great in their community.
Reporting for ABS News, this is Kim Emmanuel Beard.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.